Yeah, I'm so excited to be here with you, Erica. We live in the same neighborhood-ish, called, the Bay Area, but Erica's in the South Bay, warm and cozy every day. I'm up here in Berkeley where it's like, a nice 65 degrees all summer long. I wear sweaters and everything.
Yes, it is quite warm over here, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
But it feels good, but
exactly.
it hasn't get too hot, so there's balance, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So tell me, what are you doing down in the South Bay? What's your life like these days?
gosh, it's all over the map. I mean, immediately speaking, it was a long night. I did a deployment for HumanizeHer podcast, so I do the deployments as I have an editing team and everything, but so I was working late last night, to be honest, and then just meetings all day and having fun, but I have my kids, that are 18, so just helped my son move into his house, and then that he's renting out with a whole bunch of other folks. And then my daughter, she wants to go do some stuff later. So I just have a little bit of flexibility of a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah,
I could keep on
exactly.
talking.
Yeah, totally, totally. And I'm glad you took the time to come and connect with me. And I know that that's also part of your mission as humanizer. When I met you about a year ago at this time, you
Yep.
were just launching the podcast, and I think of
Yeah.
it humanizer as more than a podcast. Like it feels a bit like a movement.
Yes.
And so I just want to dive right in and kick off. What is the work that you're doing? What is Humanizer? What, you know, why did you create it? How's it going? Everything.
Great. Thank you, Stacy, and thank you for having me and also providing a platform for me to share what I'm working on as well. So that means a tremendous amount to me. But Humanize Her is, like you said, it's more of a movement. So Humanize Her is focusing on women and elevating their stories, elevating their products, elevating whatever it is that they are working on to be able to support them, hear from them, buy from them, elevate their voices in this moment where I feel there's so many incredible women out there, and it's not just like the big influencers, the people that have the most following. I mean, they all have so many amazing stories for us to learn and have the confidence for us to move in different directions. And so we talk a lot about different pivots essentially, but really what it is it's a media platform at the end of the day. I've been in tech for over 30 years. My background is computer engineering, VP of engineering at LinkedIn for the last 13 and a half years. We'll probably get into some of those details as well. But one of the things that I did at LinkedIn is I focused on women in tech and led women in tech at LinkedIn. And that was 20% of my job. It was a community inside and outside of the company. But when I was in this moment after 30 years in tech, I decided I wanted to take a pivot, take a change, take a pause. I mentioned I am 18-year-old and now 16-year-old, but at the time 17 and 15, I'm like, I'll never get these years back. Let me just take a little bit of pause. Let me see what that feels like for once in my life. And I did, but that lasted about 3 months. And one thing that I realized that I missed, I kept on having all these amazing conversations with women and also allies that this community of women were still needed. And there's so many communities out there. And that's why I think it's the more we have, the better. So honestly, I was just on a run and I was like, I need this for myself. And I just decided it came into my mind. I'm like, we need to humanize women and their stories. And I just kind of and I focused on her and I just kind of put it together. And I was like, all right, that sounds great. Let's get trademarked. So I launched it and I started reaching out to some of the women I knew in industry and I said, hey, I'm starting this. What do you think? Can you be on board with me? And let's just put a team together. So I have a world-class film crew, basically, of people I met at LinkedIn. And so we take quality really high. And we've recorded, 38 episodes, released 20 yesterday. And well, technically in the midnight. So today. So yeah, so we're just going strong and it's been fabulous. I'm just learning about across I think all industries. It's not just tech. And that's one thing that I learned is women entrepreneurs, women in sports, women in every industry. There's just challenges and I
Mhm.
want to make the world a better place than when I
Mhm.
leave it. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And was You talked about the production value, and that's something that really impresses me about your podcast is that it really does feel like a media company, right? And it's, you have a studio. Does everybody who is on your podcast, do they all come in person? Is that part of the mission of this podcast?
Yes, so it's Humanize Her, where I think the human connection of being in person, I think there's something magical. So
Mhm.
every single episode has been in person. The only time I took it on the road, which we can talk about
Mhm.
later,
Yeah, I
is
really
South
wanna talk it's like,
I forget. That
woo.
was a whole experience. South by Southwest. But yes, they all come here into the studio. I built this. So that was one thing when I took the break, we had we had a permit for this place behind basically my backyard, and I started getting into construction. I'm like, wait, I'm gonna just turn this into a studio. And so built it from the ground up, literally. And we come in here, we have 2 hours with each guest. And we fly in the crew from down south, and we basically have a slumber party for a whole week. Because I'll do 6 recordings, 8 recordings. The most I've ever done was 12 in one week, and we just slot everybody and go back to back. And so there's such a unique bonding experience that we also have together. We live and breathe this for like a week solid straight, like literally sleeping in the same compound and just record. And then we do that several times out of the year, and then we just have that pipeline of editing and releasing and producing. So I think it's a little bit unique in the way that we do it, and I want to hold true to that. So the goal would be, do we need to travel? We'll travel. And because there are other places I want to go, but I want to stick to in person as much as possible. I
That's
think we're missing
amazing.
that connection a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you noticed anything in particular, like any surprises that happen as a result of that? Like maybe some deeper stories that come out, or like what behind the surface can you get to when you're sharing that human connection in person?
Yeah, I mean, when we have someone that comes here to the studio, I mean, we pull out literally the red carpet for them. I mean, they have charcuterie boards and drinks, and we make them like relax, like here's soda, tea, whatever you need. And let's just get to know the human part of you. This is your story, your platform. So we really give it back to them. It's not about us. So it's amazing where we all wanna share our unique stories, and we wanna help one another at the end of the day. So the more that we can get that guest comfortable to talk about the real stuff, the challenging stuff, because I don't want it to be just, "Oh, success stories," and it just sounds all wonderful, right? So how do you pull that in? Get them comfortable, sit on the couch, let's have therapy, let's laugh, let's and I don't do a lot of editing. The only thing I'll edit in an episode is, maybe we say, "Hey, cut, we need a drink of water to go to the bathroom," or something, but I mumble my words. I'm not a perfect speaker, and, they'll have moments where they laugh, where they a mishap happens. I try and leave it as raw as possible, and so far it's been real beautiful. And I had one guest that she says, "Oh my gosh, you let me talk for, like, over an hour, and you also gave me gifts." And she's like, "This is even more amazing than my husband." I was like, "Okay." So it really is therapy, I feel, in some ways, and, like, who doesn't wanna sit around, and talk to a bunch of amazing women? And then the crew, we're an all, women crew. So when you're in studio, we have about, like, 4 people behind the scenes, and then we have us 3, that are having a conversation. It's just, let's just chat, like we're just
Oh,
hanging out. Yeah.
incredible. I was saying I have this concept slash reminder that I do in my coaching and programs is that we're all authentically powerful. And when you were talking, I was thinking about you, it's like the embodiment of both authenticity and power at the same time. And I think we forget, we think about these casual conversations and like coffee chats and things like that as being actually like low production value. And in reality, and in my experience, like I was an improv performer for 20 years, is that it was the most rehearsed, practiced work that I did, right? To make it that level of authenticity. And so what you just described is you're embracing these women's power and being able to show them how wonderful they are and celebrate them, and with the production value, the flight, the food, the welcome, the red carpet, the people, everything that's happening so that they can be raw and real and authentic. And this is just such a gorgeous reminder that that's really I believe that that's our truth. That's who we are at our best is so powerful beyond imagination. And then that creates, and when we can remember that, we can really bring out that authenticity.
Thank you, and thank you for recognizing that, and I love the way that you just described it. I need to take some of those notes myself, but it's true, and it's I think that's what the magic is. I think when we become too polished or try and put this perfection about who we are, it's like we are all these things, and it's beautiful. And like, let's just be raw and real about it, and maybe more people will show the true human side of who they are. And I actually think that you have better conversations, you learn more through all of that transparency. So I love it.
100%. So you went to South by Southwest. I was
Yes.
like, "Holy crap," following you on LinkedIn, so jealous, like, I even love the videos that you did where you're, like, standing in the booth and just talking to people as they walk by, right? It was, like, everything behind the scenes. So tell me about that experience, maybe perhaps how did it come to be? And then also, what was it like?
Yeah, so it was fabulous, and we're going back, and I'll tell you about how that story is also unraveling right now as we speak. But this is the beauty of human connections, and how it was not even on my radar. I
Mhm,
about maybe 3 4 years ago, I forget. I had spoken at South by Southwest
mhm.
on a panel with amazing women. Is like my
As
first
a
experience
VP of engineering at
at
LinkedIn?
LinkedIn,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
and it was
yeah.
more of
Okay.
a, how can you what should the workforce be like, how you hiring talent, and, your engineering cultural, uh, foundation that you built as a team. So a lot of my leadership stuff. So that's how I showed up there. I had this amazing woman that came up to me afterwards, Jory de Jardin. I just released her episode on Humanize Her, but she came up to me and she's like, "Hey, I really liked how you talked about work."
Uh-huh.
And we connected on LinkedIn. So fast forward several years, I was like, who am I going to bring on my podcast? She has an amazing story where she caught you can look at the episode, but blog her, where she created blogs when blogs were the type of media
Uh-huh.
back then, but she got acquired by She Media. The story is fantastic. Her growth and everything was phenomenal. Brought her on, she said yes immediately, and we just started talking. She contacted me a couple days after she recorded here in my studio. She said, "Hey, I know someone that's gonna be at South by Southwest. Do you wanna maybe you may think about going?" She prompted the idea to me. And
Mm.
so I reached out to the people I spoke with at South by Southwest years ago that basically hired me to speak there,
Uh-huh.
and they gave me the contact directly at South by Southwest, had a meeting, went to Texas, had a conversation with them, and applied, and they're like, "Well, we have this thing called the Podcast Lounge. Do you wanna take it over for one day at South by Southwest?" And they're like,
Well, yeah.
"Yeah." And then I have to talk to my team. I'm like, "Do you wanna take this on the road? We've never."
Uh-huh.
I mean, they have experience doing it. I don't. And so everybody immediately said yes. And this was in a matter of 3 months that this was happening. So I had to, number 1, find 3 guests that I wanted to take the stage,
Uh-huh.
figure out all the equipment to travel on the road,
Uh-huh.
get the Airbnbs, get a team. So there's about 10 of us that were on the road. Again, a bunch of women and a huge Airbnb. And we're like, let's do this. And so it's actually pretty amazing. I had Oscar nominated director for a short film. She was just in LA on the red carpet, again, through a connection. An Emmy award winning journalist, Adrian Benkart. She came on board, and I just reached out to her cold on LinkedIn. And then through the other connection, I met a Paralympic multi-medalist champion. And it's like, here I am sitting speaking with these women, and it was just fantastic. And they were like, okay, we need to get a booth, right? I took all these things for granted. Like, I worked in corporate for a long time. You would have a whole team
Team
that would
that
set
did the
up
booth.
a
Yeah.
booth, buy swag, but
Yeah.
let alone us do, take 5 cameras on the road.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, we just hustled, and
Uh-huh.
we recorded live for the first time. We'd never done live, and then we got content, then we produced the content, and then, like you said, I was like, "Hey, we have these wireless mic pros. Let's just interview people while we're in the booth," and we had some of the most amazing conversations with that too. I mean, we just rolled with it,
Wow.
and it was fun. So now, we released all those episodes. We made it a success. We all came back with amazing sisterhood. I had some women that, flew from New York to LA. Like, we all had never been in a room together. And they're like, "We have true sisterhood at the end of this." One woman says, like, "I've never had sisters, but I'm walking away with so many." Oh, it just made me
Oh.
cry. But South by Southwest team, they were so impressed with us that they reached out to me couple months ago, and they said, "Hey, we would like to make you a case study." We're like,
Mm.
"What? A case study?" I'm like, "We wanna put you up on our website. Here is a new brand going to South by Southwest for the first time. We want you to come back. We wanna talk about how you did it." And so that just got published on their website about a week
Oh
ago.
my goodness.
I know, and then they're like, "We want you to
Wow.
come back. You have the first right of refusal, and so we're gonna do it again." So,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. So speaking of case studies, one of the things that has really been coming up for my clients recently is this transition from the corporate world into consulting and entrepreneurship in an unexpected sort of not, I would like 3 months off, but hey, I've had 9 months off. Maybe I start my own business. I'm thinking about you and making that transition. Is that something, I mean, you said it wasn't really necessarily on your radar, but you realized it kept coming up for you. Let's go back in time when you were VP of engineering at LinkedIn and you're like, yeah, like maybe I should be a consultant. Maybe I should start a podcast. Like what happens for you when you're in corporate trying to figure out what's next, what you should be doing?
You know, I wanna be honest, it was a very scary time to have something that was your identity in corporate
Right.
for nearly 30 years, VP of engineering. I mean, that was your path, is climb that corporate ladder, and then here you are, right? And so to take that moment where it's like, am I gonna go look for that CTO job at that startup company and just start continuing on that path, but just somewhere else besides LinkedIn? It was I was like, "I don't." It's interesting to get to a point where I'm like, "I don't wanna do that."
Mhm.
And, like, be comfortable with saying, "I don't wanna do that," when everybody
Yeah.
expects you to do that. And
Right.
so that was one, and maybe, I mean, never say never, maybe I will eventually want to do that again, but in this moment in my life, I didn't want to do it. And so that was something that I had to settle with, and I'm still going through it a bit. I'm like, "How can something I wanted for so many years and been doing just pivot?" So I realized that there's other phases that you go through life where I wanted to do something even more mission driven and passion driven. And I needed to feel like just inspired, and I want to get in the trenches, and I want to build, and like I'm getting my hands dirty. I'm doing a lot of the work myself. And so I just wanted to give it a shot. And so have that faith to just follow through on something.
Mhm.
I have an amazing supportive group around me that basically said, "Erica, like you're kind of made for this."
Uh,
And I had women that just wanted I may even having some women that are reaching out to me, and male allies that are like, "Hey, whatever you need, just let me know how to support you." Like,
right.
you're kind and so I had a lot of people telling me, "Go, go, go." And even though I didn't know and I was unsure, but I feel so good right now, and I also wanted to challenge myself in a new way. I've never done anything on the entrepreneur side. Like, it's business 101, like, how do you file a trademark? How do you do expenses? How do you do marketing? You're all the roles, marketing, sales, engineer, you're all the things, right? And so it's been such a learning experience that I'm also enjoying it. But more importantly, it's so much mission driven. I've always been more motivated when I'm closer to what kind of feeds my soul, and mission driven work. And so this feels truly like mission driven work. When I have women that are coming here and they're telling their stories, and I get to elevate their voices, they feel good. I feel good. The team feels good. I feel like the world feels good. I feel I get enough feedback, and I have this kudos folder that people just send me messages, and I'm just adding on to it. I'm like, because if I ever have those days when it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of solo work, and it's very different work than I've ever done before, but it reminds me like this is my why. So it's still fresh, right? I've only launched in September, so we're coming about a year, and I'm gonna be having a gathering. I think I sent you
Mhm.
an invite as
Yeah.
well if you can make it. But it's gonna be fun, and it feels really fantastic. And just the people I've met is just extraordinary. So when you bring everyone together, it's just amazing how much you can actually get done with a community. And that's really
Yeah.
what I want it to be. It's not just a podcast; it's a movement, but it's also community. So I want to bring that all together. Like, we're gonna have a gathering, meet the podcasters.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now, it sounds like thought leadership, I guess I'll just put it into this bucket of sharing your ideas and voice publicly must have been a part of your life in the corporate world, right? So if you were presenting at South by Southwest as a VP of engineering, you thought about that. So can you tell, I mean, a lot of my clients will do that. I have clients that are VPs, SVPs, have their own podcasts already, right? It's not when I leave my job, I'll start that. It's like, no, this is a I give speaking gigs, everything while they're working. Can you tell me about your process and what you did when you were still in corporate?
Yeah, so a lot of this where I feel, I think, comfortable to go this route is
Mhm.
you are trained, right? So
Yeah.
in the corporate world as a VP and you have 1,000-person team, well, guess what? You have to speak to that team and lead them in the right direction. So that's one level of leadership and public speaking and that you have to do to drive results for the company. So whether I'm leading my team, and then also there's like you got to stand up in front of the whole company, right? I
Mhm.
would represent engineering. Hey, we're building this new feature. This is how we're going. So throughout my career, I've had to step up and speak to larger audiences. I also got a lot of training in the meantime. And then also, when you represent a larger corporation, your job is to represent the company. That means you like that. I spoken at South by Southwest. I would go to Grace Hopper conferences, which is one of the largest conferences for women in computing, to represent women in tech and also try and hire talent into the company. Right? You're doing this for the company, but in many ways, but you're also trying to hire new talent, right? So how do you get new talent? You're also trying to market their brand and make them successful. So there's all these elements as a leader in the corporate world that you have to represent. So I've had a lot of training because I've been in management and leadership positions for a long time. And even as an individual contributor, that's pretty much how I got into management is I had this natural tendency of wanting to lead and getting into the details, understand what the customer wants, being on those customer calls. So I feel like all those little things really added up to the skill that I'm able to have now and put all that together
Right.
and have the confidence to what I'm doing now, right? So, I mean, I get nervous sometimes. I'm like, okay, the cameras are on. It's different when you have, yes, you have an audience, but sometimes we have like three cameras right in your face. I mean, everybody has
Yeah.
to get comfortable, right? So,
Right, right, right.
yeah,
I love that. And I was gonna ask you a question, but then I realized the complexity of it. I was gonna ask you about LinkedIn, but not the company LinkedIn, but the platform. So I was like, it was kind of making me laugh. I was like, oh, how did you leverage LinkedIn, the platform? So this is always a bit of a challenge for my clients to think about how do I show up as a thought leader, a person with opinions? I'm also a VP, I'm also in the spotlight. I'm not doing this to create entrepreneurship. I'm just doing this because I care, because I have a
right.
mission, because I have a voice. Any thoughts, or what did you do to leverage the actual platform of LinkedIn to be able to amplify your own voice or see other women have success in this area?
Great question, because I worked at the company for 13 and a half years and built a lot of the different things. In fact, when I first started working at LinkedIn, I led the growth team for nearly 7 to 9 years. Then I went over to the LinkedIn learning team when we had that acquisition of Linda. And then I went to the marketplace of jobs and recruiters on LinkedIn. So I really did three different lines of business at LinkedIn. So I've experienced how the platform has evolved, how we built things as well. And I'm using LinkedIn now more than ever. So it's interesting when I worked at LinkedIn, right? I built a lot of this functionality. And when I'm working at LinkedIn, what I want to do is promote the platform. Hey, we have this new feature. Hey, make our customers more successful on the platform. Let's talk about what those things are,
And so
right? That
you would
that
actually post
yeah,
things like that. Okay,
yes.
great.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so it's like, okay, for instance, there was a time and LinkedIn where I also helped build this platform. We called it ATC, Air Traffic Controller, but how you would get email and push on your mobile device,
Uh-huh.
like in the early days. And us building that, did we get it right all the time, or we sent out too much email or too much push? So it's like we'd have to publicly say, hey, these are the optimizations, these are the fixes that we have. This is how you can do settings and use the product in this way. Or the recruiter platform, right? We've made these enhancements on the recruiter platform for you to find the best talent to, basically hire the talent for your organization and do skills on the profile and do the matching and the algorithms. And this is how we built it. I can go on and on about all the features we built on LinkedIn, but to use the platform, we would talk about the things we build. And if you're on LinkedIn, a lot of my friends are still at LinkedIn. You'll see like Yonda, she's head of product for the feed of what you see on LinkedIn. And so she's doing constant updates of, hey, this is this new feature or these new analytics for creators to use now. So now flipping to where I'm at now as a creator on the platform. So I use the platform, like I said, more than ever, and I use it in several different ways. One is to reach out to find people on to be on the podcast, right? I found so many people that I'm like, oh, that would be good. They would be good. So I can reach out to them, and you have the premium feature, and so reach out is one thing that I use the platform tremendously for, and then also just publishing the content. Right, so you'll see a lot of shorts on, the feed as well, and I look at those as a short to then like, "Hey, go watch the full episode somewhere else," give them that teaser, give them that hook, and so whether it's static content, whether it's video content, so I'm posting if you look at my profile, I'm posting every single day, and I have, I don't know, I think I'm almost at 40,000 followers, but I that took a tremendous amount of years to get there, so I post on my platform, and I also have a company page that represents Humanize Her, so I do both, and that's how you amplify. You can't be the best kept secret. You need to play the game. You gotta get your content out there, and I use TikTok, I use Instagram, I use YouTube, Spotify, Apple, I use all of them, and one thing that I could say is that is inconsistent across these platforms that I think you would be a lot better, is when you're trying to understand views and impressions, everybody counts things a little bit differently, so how is your content being actually absorbed and such, so but LinkedIn is tremendously interesting depending on who I have my guest. I could see, hey, I released that podcast on LinkedIn and it was crazy successful, but maybe it didn't go as well on Instagram or the vice versa. So
Mhm.
I do notice some differences. So that's why you put it out there. You know,
Right.
you get
Right.
different followers and people are following you for different reasons. And as you're growing, it's very, very humbling to start from zero. It's very, very humbling. And I'm like, when I was used to working at LinkedIn, I mean, when I started LinkedIn, we were at 150 million members. Now they're over at 1,000,000,000. So those are even big numbers, right? But
Yeah, right.
I was used to those numbers, and so when you start from 0, it's, essentially on some of these other platforms, I'm like, this is
Yeah.
very humbling."
Here we go, here we go. I wanna talk to you a little bit about networking. It sounds like leveraging your network has been a huge part of your success as a leader and also with Humanizer, and obviously, when I'm working with women in corporate, we're talking a lot about how to leverage your network to have success, with promotions and stuff. It's about I tell people they get annoyed. They say, "Oh, it's all about who you know." And I'm like, "Yeah, it kind of is. And let's figure out how to know the right people." And so
Right.
what you're talking about is like even in building your platform has been about who you know and how you're leveraging them and really influencing behavior and getting other people to work on your behalf. So, anything come to mind there that you can share? It's a can of worms. It's a
Oh
whole
my god,
like,
no,
these are
so
3
a lot.
novels, but yeah, exactly.
A lot actually, because I'm using my network now more than ever. It's interesting when you're in a corporate world, it's like when you're there for 13.5 years, yes, I use my network because I would do gatherings outside of LinkedIn for women in tech. So that was one thing is I said, hey, your network, people come and go from companies, right?
Uh-huh,
Like your network will always be your network. People are
uh-huh,
going to move around. So even when I was at LinkedIn, I would talk about that and making sure that you stay
uh-huh.
connected. So because when you plant seeds, you don't know if it's gonna happen now or later, so I don't
Right.
look for the intentionality of, like, I'm gonna get something. We're all here to help one another. I think even you and I, the way
Uh-huh.
we met at an event, right? And we're
Yeah.
like, and like you said, a year ago, I don't know, I kinda like you, I like your vibe, I like what you're working on,
Exactly.
and let's see if we can help each other one day, right?
Right. And here we are.
And
Yep.
here we are. So I think it's these moments that you just create authentic connection and you don't know necessarily what you're always going to get out of it. But right now, I use my network in so many ways where I there's my network is only so big, right? Where I can get these guests. But guess what? If I'm trying to expand out of technology, like I said, I have some people that I interview that are in sports or now in film. I mean, that is so not my network, right? Like, absolutely not. I'm able to tap into those people because I know this person that then knows that person and like, "Hey, can you do a warm introduction for me?" I had this amazing guy that I used to work with. Steve Johnson, actually, he just reached out to me. He's like, "Oh, F1 on Netflix, I have someone that maybe we could talk to." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that'd be so amazing."
Please.
Just I know, I'm like, "Don't get me too excited." But, this is how when you start sharing what you're doing, number 1, so people know what you're doing, and then these moments pop in of like, "Hey, you wanna help that person," or they wanna help you, or you're gonna ask for a
Mhm.
favor because 'cause they're connected. You really can't explain the magic that you're gonna get out of it.
Uh-huh.
All the connections, all the relationships. I'm still so close to women that I've worked in my early career in my 20s, and we still get together and we're helping each other to this day. So I think you nurture those relationships, you make sure they're authentic, and you help one another. Someone to ask you for help, that's a big ask. That's a vulnerable moment, actually, right? I've learned to be like, ugh, how am I gonna ask someone for that? I don't want to bug them. I don't want to waste their time. I know it's uncomfortable. So when someone asks you for their help, that's a very vulnerable moment. Like, what can you do? It doesn't have to be a huge thing, right? Maybe it's a simple introduction over email or what have you. It's like that's what it's about. I mean, we all humans at the end of the day, and we all want to be connected. We feel better for it. We have hopefully so much time in this world together. I think, you'll feel better. I feel better as a human. Like, it feels good when I know that I helped get that job for that person. Feels
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. So I feel like in some ways this is obvious, but I always love asking, and you might have some of these questions on your podcast as well, that when you ask it in a very direct way, people might answer it differently than the assumptions we make. But the question is, why do you personally feel motivated to have a voice at the table? There's been underlyings of it in this conversation thus far, but I feel like there's more to it.
Look, I feel in these different phases of my career, like, obviously, when I was just starting, I didn't feel confident to have always a voice at the table, right? And through all those learnings, and when I was able to get to a leadership position, I then realized, you know what, this is the power that I now have, that I can actually create the change that I want. So even in my leadership meetings in the corporate world for so long, like this is my staff meeting, for example. I'm in charge of this meeting, right? Or I'm in charge of like the direction of how we build. So I get to be in a moment of leadership to give voice to all those people around me in that meeting, to hear their voice, hear their perspective, build the, product in a certain way. Like that is very powerful to give a voice to other folks when you're in a leadership position. So I firmly have always believed in it because I felt like that was something I needed when I didn't have the experience, knowledge. I mean, this is all stuff you can easily talk about after you gain, 30 years of confidence, right? I mean, I still have my moments where I'm not as we all have those moments, right? You're doing something new, so you can always have those moments that you're not as confident. But I feel like it's really an obligation when you get to those leadership positions to give other people a voice. So that is what motivates me, and so that is what I'm essentially doing also with this podcast. I get to now one to many, so many voices. It just feels good. I can't explain it. Like, it's just I want I want this world to just, be different, and I guess if I if I want the world to be different, and I get all passionate about women because women are 50% of the global population, but I see so many inequities still. It actually fuels me to do something about it. And if I could be part of history and making an impact, like what better thing to do? And also I have my children, I have my son and my daughter. I want them to see it. And it's like, and they're seeing it. They work at some of my events, they help me on some things. And
Mhm.
so I think this is how you just, create the kind of world that you want to live in and your
Exactly.
children to live in. So
Yes, yes. Anything that we haven't touched on, I'm thinking particularly, let's go back to LinkedIn as a job, that, for the woman who's trying to rise in her career and she's thinking, "Oh, I would love to just be a V," I mean, not just be, but to be a VP someday, right? Like, that's what I want. Anything that you would offer to her, what's your advice?
yeah, I definitely feel the path. I mean, essentially what you had said is I wanted to get to a VP. Like
Mhm.
that was my goal. That was my target. I wanted a seat at the table where the decisions were being made and I wanted to be VP, but how do you get there? I think it was a couple of things for me is number one, you have to be good at your craft, right?
Mhm.
And we all kind of have different strengths. Like I was really good at the people management side of it and also execution. So that's
Mhm.
what I kind of got known for is like, hey, that needs to be done. Erica's going to go in there and do it. Some people just have different skills. Some people are more visionary and then they have people around them that are high on execution. So I think understanding what your strengths are and
Uh-huh.
playing towards those things that's what I did in my career. The other thing is I definitely got help. I had a ton of I still have coaches, today. Coaching is so important where they help you navigate, things in a different way or how you're showing up in that meeting, how you're influencing people, or how you're guiding people in that moment. I mean, all of that is skill. So coaching was a big thing that really helped me in my career, and I still do today. And then another thing is simply asking and letting people know what you want to do. If you say,
Uh-huh.
"I want to be a VP," you better tell some people. You better tell people
Right.
you better tell people who are in charge of making those decisions, and you plant the seeds because those type of roles, it's not like you have a ton of those, right?
Mhm.
They're limited. And if you and maybe that seat becomes vacant or maybe they create that opportunity for you. I mean, there's so many different ways to get there, but it's not gonna happen when you're like, "I wanna do it, and I wanna do it right now." That's
Mhm.
not how it works, and I know because 'cause I'm a very impatient person sometimes, I was like, "I wanna do this now, it should be happening in 6 months, and let's go." It's like, well, it has to make sense. It
Mhm.
has to make sense where you're in that role because there's also an expectation. If you're holding that title, well, guess what? You're gonna be responsible of XYZ, you're gonna be in charge of this type of impact. It's also a lot of work. So
Right.
understanding what that is and also what is involved in creating the impact around that and what kind of team you need to be successful. Because I've only been as good as my team. So
Mhm.
it's not like, oh, I want to get to VP and like, oh, I'm gonna tell everybody what to do and it's just gonna happen. No. People want me at that level, people want and they need to want to work with you.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so my team is, I've always been impressed with the diversity of my team. I have 50% women, 50% men, people that worked with me for years and went from every single different department that I went to in some of the
Mhm.
companies. And then now we're still friends. So go back to your point of networking and authentic relationships. I mean, people have to trust you. It's
Right.
not about
Right.
me, you. It's like, how are you leading in this moment? In fact, a lot of the advice I get is sometimes we become so self-consumed about what we want and where we wanna
Mhm.
go. If you're coming from a place of that in a meeting or any other decision or in a company, people see right through that. I don't really wanna work with that person at
Mhm.
all. Like, but if you come from a place where you're focusing on what's right for the company, what's right for the team, and then yourself, and you want all those things to work, but if you're coming from like, "Hey, what does it mean for the team to be the
Mhm.
company to be
Mhm.
successful?" People can buy into that. So I think you just have to stay true to that, and I feel like that's what's made me successful, and I have really great relationships in all the companies I've worked with. So, yeah,
Amazing. Yeah,
yeah.
super helpful. I thought of another that was supposed to be the final question, but I thought of another final question. Can you think of anything in your conversation? So you said you've released 20 plus episodes and you have a couple more in the can, right? Any inspiring stories that you want to share? I was like, what kind of pops in your head? Like, ooh, I want to tell you about this person.
No, gosh, they're all so
I bet
good. It's
they're
like,
great.
you're taking my
Yeah, yeah,
favorite
yeah.
child, that's not 'cause I learn it's what's great is I'm learning so much from each conversation.
Right, that's what I bet. I
I know,
bet. It's
and
like
I'm just honestly, it's curiosity. So the one that I just released, today, number 20, Leela Srinivasan, we actually used to work out at LinkedIn together, but she's the CEO of Parity, focusing on equity in women's sports and sponsorship, more of the financial side
wow.
of it, and I learned that a lot of these athletes, like athletes that are Olympians, that could be
Right,
Olympian
right.
champions, they have 2 jobs because 'cause they're not making
Yes,
enough money to
yeah.
even survive.
Oh, the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, Netflix special killed me. Like, I was like, "What? You're making Chick-fil-A salary? Like, what
Yeah,
is
they
happening?"
all have to yeah, it's so sad. And so I'm a season ticket holder of AFC, which is a soccer, team in the Bay Area, but it's just the pay inequity just really pisses you off.
Right.
So there's some of those moments. Another moment that are just educational and you want to create a change. The other thing is when I was at South by Southwest, I had interviewed Cindy Lim, who is the Oscar nominated director for The Last Ranger, which is about rhino poaching. I mean, these are the kind of good things I get to talk about. I'm like, wow. And it's
Wow.
a real story and a real rhino and everything. But I also interviewed the actress that was in the movie, Ava
Uh-huh.
Mire, and then the young girl, Leah Bona. She was 15 when we went to South by, but I think she interviewed for the part as her first moment of acting, and we just put in a
Wow.
self-tape and got selected by Cindy Lee. She
Wow.
mentored her, and she literally brought me tears. If you watch that
Oh.
episode, she was able to cry on the spot, but here's an amazing young actress, and I'm like, "I'm getting you up on stage." Like, this is the
Oh my
power when you're in
gosh.
charge and you have this.
Yeah, you
I'm
can
like, "I
bring
wanna give
those
that
voices.
spotlight to all those
Wow.
women and this
Awesome.
young girl." And so
Thank you.
it felt
Yeah.
so good. You gotta check it out. You'll
Mm.
cry. Her mom, they all flew from Africa and hung out in Texas.
Wow. Oh
It
my
was
gosh.
amazing, and
That's
I
amazing.
mean, and we're close friends, like, now, and
Mhm.
they know things about my family, and so I just it's getting to that personal level and
Mhm.
creating true relationships has been just and Adrian Benkart, oh my okay, this one's really a different okay,
Okay,
you
good. I
it's
knew there would be some in there.
she's an Emmy nominated journalist. She's been on ABC, Good Morning America. She's interviewed Lady Gaga, Bradley Cooper. I mean, phenomenal that I got her through LinkedIn and the cold call. She thought I was not real, right? So,
Right.
like, but she said yes, and we got on a call. But she wanted to talk about faith, and I'm like, "Faith?" She's like, "Faith in media, like, we talk about our mental health, why can't we talk about faith?" I'm like, "Ooh, I don't know if I'm just starting my podcast, that's a touchy subject, I probably shouldn't talk about that." But then I was like, "You know what? I am a faithful person, why am I
Mhm.
afraid? I should have these
Right.
conversations." So it was challenging myself
Uh-huh.
to also have these challenging conversations with a
Uh-huh.
journalist on a
Uh,
very challenging topic, and so pushing
yeah.
yourself, and her and I talk, every week now, and we're close
Oh,
friends too, and
wow.
she's helping me personally through some faith stuff, challenges myself, but that's just I would never expect these things to there's
Mhm.
so many unique things. I don't know, you should just watch some of the episodes.
Okay, sounds good. It sounds good. Everybody should follow Erica Lockheimer, everyone, and go to Humanize Her podcast. Definitely subscribe to your podcast and any other ways that you wish to connect with my audience or let them know about what's in store for you and Humanize Her.
Yeah, I think the best thing is to follow. I mean, this is the game that you can't be the best kept secret. So please, I'm really pushing YouTube. Like I mentioned, we have such a production of quality for the media. So YouTube has the full episode and the shorts, but all the platforms. So YouTube, but definitely on LinkedIn, you'll understand like where we're headed and what direction, and Instagram. I mean, they're all over there. We can put it like in the
Mhm.
comments, but yes, just follow, help support us. I'm self-funded, and I'm self-funded. So that's also different. I'm like, okay, I have employees, and
Yeah.
putting a lot of money into this. So that's also a different thing to
Mhm.
not have a paycheck for the first time in your life. But I worked really hard for many years. But still, it's
Mhm.
a whole new ball game. So for sure.
Oh, thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom with our audience. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Well, thank you for supporting us, and I am
Mhm.
so glad we met that one
Yes,
day, Stacy. And keep
it
doing
was
what you're doing. It's
beautiful.
important.
Thank you.
Thank you.